This is an essential tool in pastry, a piping bag. But before you start piping beautiful desserts, you need to know how to choose the right piping bag, how to use it, and how to take care of it. That's what I'm going to show you today.
Let's start by choosing the right pastry bag. The first thing to consider is the material. You'll find plastic, silicone, and even cloth pastry bags. Personally, I recommend disposable plastic bags. They're practical, easy to use, and in my experience, the best choice for most pastry work. Next comes the size. I use 50 centimeters pastry bags. That might sound a little too big, but let me show you why I keep coming back to this size. Once you fold the cuff over your hand, and you'll notice there's much less usable space left than you might expect. If the bag already has a piping tip fitted, you're left with about 30 centimeters of working length, around 27 centimeters, with the tip in the place. After years of working in pastry, I found this to be the perfect balance. It's long enough to give you excellent control, but not so long that you end up filling it with more cream than you actually need. Another advantage is that less cream sits against the warmth of your hand, so it's less likely to soften while you're working. Whether you're piping small pastries or decorating large cakes, this size has never let me down. The next thing I look at is the seam. It has to be strong enough to handle the pressure of thicker fillings without splitting. I also await bags with an extra flap sticking out along the seam. That little flap can easily catch on your decoration and ruin a clean pattern, especially when you're doing detailed piping. It's a small detail, but after years of using pastry bags, I found it's worth paying attention to. Now, let's fit the piping tip. Don't cut the bag first. Instead, place your piping tip inside the bag and gently push it towards the end. Don't force it, you don't want to stretch or damage the plastic. Then, take a small knife and cut the bag about 1 to 1.5 centimeters below the end of the tip. Leaving that extra plastic helps keep the tip securely in place even when you're working with thicker creams and applying more pressure. Now, before filling the bag, always twist the end several times and push it inside the piping tip. It creates a simple seal that prevents the filling from leaking out while you're filling the bag. Once that's done, fold the cuff over your hand, and then the bag is ready. It's clean, it's sealed, and you have plenty of room to fill it comfortably before you start piping. Now let's fill the pastry bag together. As you can see, I'm using meringue. I really like using it for practice and demonstrations because it's quick to make and very easy to work with. The tip is already sealed, the bag is prepared, and everything is ready to go. It's simply part of my daily routine in the pastry kitchen. One thing I see quite often is people squeezing the bag together to clean the spatula after adding the cream. I don't recommend doing that. There's a good chance you'll end up getting cream all over the outside of the bag. The easiest method is much simpler. Rest your hand against the bowl so it stays firmly in place. Scoop up the cream with your spatula. Transfer it into the bag. Then wipe the spatula against the folded edge of the bag that's supported by your hand. That way you never have to squeeze the bag together. Everything stays clean, everything stays neat, and you don't end up making a mess on the outside of the bag. Once you've added enough filling, it's time to fold the cuff back up. At this stage, try not to get any cream on the top edge of the bag. While you're working, that part of the bag often comes close to your face, your apron, and even your shoulders, and I'm sure none of us wants to finish covered in cream. Once you folded the cuff back up, twist the top of the bag several times above the filling. This is really important because, as I mentioned earlier, some creams create quite a lot of pressure inside the bag. Without a good seal, the filling can easily work its way back out through the top. And once again, you'll end up making a mess. Now all that's left is to remove the seal from the tip, push the filling all the way down, and you're ready to start piping. Whether you're piping simple shapes, decorating a dessert, or working on something more detailed, the bag is now ready to use. Whenever you need to stop, always turn the bag so the tip points upwards. That simple habit stops the filling from dripping out and gives you a moment to step back, check your work, and decide what you like to do next. As the bag becomes emptier, keep tightening the twist at the top so you maintain the same pressure all the way through. And here's one simple rule: if you're right-handed, your right hand creates the pressure, your left hand controls the piping tip and guides the movement. Finally, if you need a longer break, simply place the bag tip up in a bowl or a plastic container. You can even put it in the fridge, take a short break, and it will be ready to use again whenever you come back. The last thing I'd like to share with you is another technique you'll see in professional kitchens all over the world. Pastry bag is also a great way to store different kinds of creams for a short period of time. Whether it's fruit purees or creams that haven't been whipped, a pastry bag works really well for this. I wouldn't recommend doing this with whipped creams or meringue because they'll gradually lose their volume and texture. I'm only using meringue here because it's the easiest way to demonstrate the technique. So let's start with a pastry bag that doesn't have a piping tip fitted, although you certainly can use one if you prefer. Simply fill the bag with the amount of the cream you'd like to store. Once it's filled, fold the cuff back up, just like you would before piping. Now, gently push all the air out of the front of the bag. Because I'm using meringue, it's a little more difficult, but as you can see, it can still be done. The reason for removing the air is simple. It helps prevent the cream from drying out and pushes it all the way down to the very tip of the bag. Once that's done, gather all the cream together. Twist the top several times, just as if you were using a piping tip, and tie a knot at the top. This is another reason why I like using 50 cm pastry bags. That extra length gives you plenty of room to tie a proper knot. Pull the knot nice and tight, and now you've got your cream safely sealed inside the bag. It's a great solution if you're preparing desserts in advance before serving dinner to your friends or family. To save a little space in the fridge, simply cut away the excess plastic above the knot. Now, if you don't have a piping tip or maybe you just don't feel like using one, there's another little trick. You can cut the end of the bag straight across to create a classic round opening, or you can cut it in an angle. That angled cut creates a teardrop-shaped opening that gives a result surprisingly close to a real piping tip. It's not exactly the same, but it's a very good alternative. As you can see, you can pipe classic waves, little hearts, and almost anything you'd normally do with a standard piping tip. So if you don't own one yet, or simply don't want to buy one, this is a great way to start practicing. The last thing I'd like to mention is taking care of your pastry bags. They're made of plastic, so if we can avoid throwing them away every single time, that's always a good thing. If possible, simply wash them. Use your regular dish soap and clean the inside really well. If you've been using heavy buttercreams or very fat fillings, it's usually better to replace the bag with a new one. But if you've been using something like meringue, washing and reusing the bag works perfectly well. You'll save a little money and at the same time you'll create less plastic waste. Before using the bag again, make sure it's completely dry. Store it somewhere with good airflow and always check that there aren't any small tears, cracks, or tiny holes. Otherwise, you'll probably end up disappointed the next time you use it. And now that's it for today's lesson. Now it's your turn. Fill your pastry bag with your favorite cream, start practicing, be creative, enjoy the process, and keep improving every time you use it. I'll be sharing more tips and techniques in future videos. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.